I was initially motivated to start using social media because I was working in screen production and teaching and professional practice both in screen production. So a lot of my work started becoming available online. A lot of my community is online. So I have adopted fairly early quite a few different social media platforms that I use professionally and personally. I don't know if I can list all of the platforms I'm on, but I can list the top 5 pretty easily. So professionally, since I am working as an academic now, number 1 would probably be academia.edu. I use academia.edu to create a presence for myself in the international community of academics, and I post whatever publications I have permissions to post, and this is incredibly helpful for my profile in that it boosts my citations. People around the world can find my material more easily when they find my profile on academia.edu. I also use academia.edu to find other people, and I would say that's one of the most valuable things about that particular platform. I may find essays in the library or books in the library written by people who I think are interesting. I can then go on academia.edu and find more recent work by them, as well as getting in contact with them, and there are several instances of times that I have done that very productively. So, number 1 for an academic, academia.edu. I have an active presence on Google Scholar, and when I say active, all that really means is that I have put my photo and my profile, my contact details on Google Scholar. Google Scholar is an aggregating platform, and what it is essentially doing is searching out any time that you have been cited and aggregating all of those citations to one place so that you can use it to track your own citations. Putting your profile on there is really an additional extra. It's doing it anyway. I find this incredibly useful when I'm seeking employment because citations are a big part of your research impact. It's how you know whether your research is having any impact in the world. So through Google Scholar I have an H index and an I index, is that right? I can't remember exactly, but I have a number of indices of the number of times I've been cited, and that has helped me to get employment. Moving down the list from there, I'm also have presence on Facebook, and interestingly, Facebook crosses over for me between personal and professional in quite a fluid way. A lot of people in my industry are my friends. So we're friends on Facebook. I find it very useful for keeping up with what's going on in my industry. So it gets me a bit out of the walled garden of academia.edu and into a more active industry-focused kind of conversation with people. Oh, have you seen my latest work? Does anyone know a good cinematographer? That kind of conversation happens on Facebook, and I don't like to miss what my friends are up to, so I stay on Facebook. I am also on LinkedIn, but I don't find it that useful, I have to say. I have a profile there, and I know that people do search and find my profile there, and that is perhaps useful for them, but as I'm not an employer at this point, I wouldn't look on LinkedIn for film crews. I'm not really using LinkedIn in that way. I also find it a bit superficial. I get a lot of requests to LinkedIn from people who work in marketing departments, and I think they're not really interested in linking with me. They're interested in advertising to me. So I don't love LinkedIn. And the last one I guess I would mention would be ResearchGate. ResearchGate is very interesting because what you can do there is actually start conversations. So you can post a question on ResearchGate, and academics who are interested in the same research area might respond to that question, and some of the conversations get quite heated and very interesting. I don't use it a lot, but I do think it's an interesting platform. I would say it's fairly common practice for researchers in my discipline to use social media, but it is definitely not universal. So I have to be a bit alert to that when I'm finding resources on social media. I'm not necessarily finding everything that's out there. Given that I work in screen production, I do feel I need to be quite savvy about social media and keep myself present there. I think that is where things are going in terms of research and in terms of professional practice. I think there are some risks for researchers using social media. One of them that I would say is notable at this point is that not all researchers use social media. So you need to be quite careful of thinking, right, I've got all of the latest research, I've been on social media, I've seen what's there. You haven't. You need to, it's still relevant to go to books, to go to websites, to go to journals, etc., and online journals. So that's one of the dangers, is missing things. I suppose it's possibly also a danger that social media is unfiltered. If you think that publishers will filter the academics that they choose to publish, but academics can simply post papers that they have written that are unpublished. And so you have to be aware that the research that is being there may not have been vetted by editors or by peers, and you might want to think about that in terms of how you cite it. Social media has actually been quite useful to me in terms of boosting the effects of face-to-face networking. So if I go to a conference, for example, I will very often make Facebook friends or academia.edu contacts with people that I've met at that conference, and that's just a useful way of keeping that contact alive, especially here in Australia. We're very remote. A lot of the conferences I go to are overseas, and it's hard to keep up contact with those people. I can't think of any downsides at this point of using social media with regard to face-to-face networking. To me, it's only managed to augment my face-to-face contacts networks, and in fact, very often before a conference, I will look at the list of presenters and then go on social media and do a bit of research before I go and meet them. And that way, when I do meet them face-to-face, we have a lot more to talk about. I think that there are opportunities for early career researchers, people moving from study into being researchers, in using social media to disseminate their research more widely. But I don't think that social media can replace traditional publication avenues in that sense. What it can do is augment them, and very usefully augment them. So if you are able to get research published in a respected academic journal, very often those journals are quite happy for you then to reproduce it with correct citations through various social media platforms. And once you do that, and you connect to other people who are interested in your research area, you can begin to find that your research is getting talked about, cited, or used by other people. Very helpful to your career. If I had one piece of advice for people just starting out using social media to disseminate their research, I would say be active, but be moderate. And when I say be moderate, I mean try to be moderate in your tone and in your responses to other people's tones. Social media, it's very easy to misinterpret tone. It's very easy to do things quickly without giving a lot of depth of thought to them, and then those things travel far and wide. So it's not like using Facebook to post your baby pictures, right? You really want to think about, this is going to hang around for a long time. It's going to reach people that I may not know very well. Could its tone be misinterpreted? Is the research sound? Have I been moderate in placing it out there about my claims? And that'll help you in general to get a reputation of being somebody who is solid and worthwhile and not just full of hot air.